Bonjour and welcome to a new unboxing video, and today we're going to talk about a new line, which is actually not a new line because it's one of those retro figures that they seem to be very popular at the moment. Fine with me. I love retro figures. I mean, be it Superpowers or the Star Wars one or the Marvel retro action from Super 7, and this one is going to come from Hasbro. And no, it's not Star Wars, and no, it's not Marvel, it's not Power Rangers, it is Indiana Jones. Basically, back in the early 80s, when Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because that's now the new title, when it was released, Kenner had the license to do action figures, so they started releasing a series of action figures. There were I think there were 6 or 7, I can't remember. There were at least 6 or 7 anyway, and I think it's 7, maybe wrong, but I'm sure there's 7 all in all, plus a horse, plus play sets. They had done quite and a big 12-inch figure, which is beautiful as well. But basically, they had released that those are extremely difficult to find. I mean, you can find them; they're very expensive. And for the release of the new Indiana Jones movie, Hasbro has decided to be very nice to us and to re-release those figures from the 1980s. So basically, we do have a brand new Raiders of the Lost Ark action figure set, which have, of course, Indiana Jones, because I mean that's the main character. You do have the German mechanic. Yeah, don't ask me why it was, but he was one of the characters released at the same time. We do have, of course, Dot, the nasty Nazi, and we do have Belloc, and we also have, of course, the lovely Marion Ravenwood. Ravenwood. And so basically that's the 5 figures that they've released, and they are literally re-releases of the ones that were done at the time. I mean, there's some minor differences, of course, because I think that the way they do those is that they scan the actual original figures to make those, and there's always some slight differences with the original, and of course they don't want them to look exactly like the original so that they can't be taken for the original. And we do have actually some interesting things about them, which I will see as we actually unpack those, because yes, we're going to unpack those. I know that you people don't like it when I unpack this, so we're going to start, of course, with Indiana Jones, because it should be the first one. So as you can see, this is exactly the same blister pack that was released at the time by Kenner. You do have the thing about the action feature, because yes, at the time they had action features. And so the front is very simple. I mean, when you see, of course, all of the front have a photo of the character that's in the blister, and in the back you do have, of course, the 5 characters from the line and the usual legal terms and blah blah blah, small parts and stuff. And of course it's in multiple languages. On the original one, of course, you did have the full line of figures, but you also had pictures of the play set and all kind of things. So if I remember, I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, please don't hesitate to comment. When they released the series originally, there were 2 more blistered figure. One was actually Belloc as an archaeologist, and there was also Indiana Jones as a German soldier. And I think that's it, unless I'm forgetting something. It's quite possible I didn't check before I started the video, otherwise it wouldn't be funny. So if I make a mistake and if I'm missing some figures, of course, please do comment below, and I'll be very, very happy to hear from you. Of course, there was also figures in the playset, like for example, the Streets of Cairo playset had the Arabian swordsman, and you had a little Marion Ravenhood PVC figure. You did have also a version of Indiana Jones in robes for the I think it was the Well of Soul playset, or no, it was the Map Room playset. Anyway, let's talk about the modern stuff. So we're going to open this. I'm going to be very careful with those, because I actually do like those blisters, so I fully intend to keep them. So basically, that's the blister. You do have a little piece of paper, which is the, well, you know, it's all those things. Be careful. It's small parts. You could choke on that kind of thing. I mean, it's a very standard thing, and that's the difference actually with the figures released in the 80s. They didn't have that little paper, so it's and of course the blisters inside didn't have any squeeze part. I mean, the tray wasn't like that, because of course at the time we didn't really care much so about that. So basically, let's see what we have here. We do have we do have, well, first of all, of course, we do have Indiana Jones. It looks really cool. I mean, it is literally the figure that was released at the time, but it's really very cool. You do have a little hook on the side, because of course it does have his whip, so you can actually hang the whip at his belt. And you do have also a little holster here, which is strangely open. I mean, if you can see that it's opened at the front, and that's because the original Indiana Jones figure had a quick draw action. That's the gun that is included. So let's see, because it does say something about, but I'm pretty sure that they didn't do. Yeah, it doesn't have the action feature. Or does it? Ah, it does. It does have the action feature. If you pull back the arm is actually the quick draw feature. So let's see if we can do that with him holding his gun without him losing the gun. So here you go. So you do have the gun ready to go. It's there. And if I'm doing that, I'm sure that the gun is going to go all the way and behind my desk, and I will never find it again. So let's play it safe. I'm just going to put his gun in his arm, and basically here you go. You can do the quick draw action. It's a very, very simple function, but I'm actually nicely surprised that they kept it. Because that's something they could have actually done without easily. And we do have, of course, the whip, which of course can be untied and put in his hand and be used to play. So, but at the moment we're going to do that and put it on the sides. And here you go. That's the first figure of the line. I'm very sorry about the coughing. There seems to be a lot of that going on at the moment. And now we're going to open the other ones. The next one I'm going to open is Belloc. The reason why I'm opening Belloc now is because this figure is different from the one that was released at the time. For one simple reason, this figure was never released carded. it was a mail away figure, so you actually were receiving it in a little baggie. So there was actually plan to release it on a card, and actually there are some pictures of the prototype of the card that exist, and funnily enough, it is exactly the card the way it was supposed to be. But in the 80s, well, there was no figure on card, it was just the baggy one. So it's quite interesting that we now have a figure that's been released in the way it was supposed to, even though at the time it was just released as a mail away figure. So it's kind of fun. Of course, at the time, the one you could find on a card, and it had a completely different card, was the Belloc as an archaeologist, so wearing his regular desert outfit. So let's see. We do have the little paper thing, but I'm not going to bother with that. Let's put that on the side. So here you go. We do have the figure here. So it does have his robe. The interesting thing is, if you were to remove the robe, I'm not going to do that because of course underneath the costume that he's wearing would be the same costume as the one he had without the robe, if you see what I mean. The other figure, and of course the head is different because you do have this headdress thing. So here you go, it's all in fabric, including the belt. Of course, those are I'm not doing it checking, but those are with 7 point of articulation. So you've got the arms, you've got the knees, and the knees and the oh god the top of the leg, and the knees. You do have the head, of course. So that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 point of articulation for those. And it does come with, of course, this beautiful staff, so the ceremonial staff that's supposed to help him when he's opening the Ark. So here you go, that is Belloc, and he looks absolutely fantastic. I'm testing at the same time if they're standing, because at the time there were some difficulties with some of them. If I remember, it was topped, which was a bit top heavy because of his coat. And of course Marion Ravenhood was notoriously difficult to stand. So we do have now, I should have shown you the car, we do have the German mechanic, and he actually does have an action feature. It's another of those characters with an action feature, which is probably going to be fighting. So it's probably, let's see what it does. I suppose, yeah, it's very similar to the Indiana Jones. You've got this spring, and it's only one side, of course, and you can actually fight, but it's actually very, very low because he will fight in the belly. I mean, he won't be able to go very high, but it's actually it's still a cool figure. I think it's the weirdest figure of the lot, and he does have his little wrench because, of course, he can actually fight with his wrench. So here we go. You can see the German mechanic looking really cool. It's not as here you go, the back. Oddly enough, yeah, if you look at the back of Indiana Jones and the back of this one, they don't have exactly the same type of articulation, which is weird because at the time you would have thought that all articulations were the same. But here you go. This is the German mechanic, which is, of course, the, I would say, less interesting figure of the lot, even though it's nice, but it's just a random mechanic. And then we're going to see Tot. Of course, Tot here is Tot with his lovely picture, and it does come with two accessories. One is, of course, a gun, and the other one is a removable coat. At least at the time, I'm really hoping that this one has a removable coat as well. I haven't opened them, so I don't know, but it should be the case. The coat was actually quite rigid. So here we go. I'm not showing you the little paper because there's no point in that. So here you go. Here is Todd with his coat, and you can see he's got his little hat and glasses, and of course one of the things that you could do with them, so I'm going to remove, yes, as you can see, you can actually remove the coat so that you can actually see the character much better. The coat is definitely not as rigid as the one that was at the time. I used to own those figures, so that's how I remember this being a bit more rigid than this. And of course it doesn't have an action feature, but what it does have is that in his hand he's got, of course, the brand from the burn he gets from the amulet from the top of Staff of Ra. Yes, it is, isn't it? I'm getting confused. I'm sure I'm going to get all those people telling me, no, you got it wrong, it's not. But anyway, so you can actually show his blistered hand here, and of course he does come with a gun, which is nice. I mean, it's always good to have a character with gun, and we can actually give him back his coat because he does look nice with his coat. So this is the interesting thing is that the hand that he has to hold the coat, the gun, is actually the one that's hidden under the coat. So here you go. This is Todd. I think maybe having, let's see if he's got as many problems too. No, he actually stands pretty well. That's better than the one from the time. Maybe mine wasn't working correctly, or maybe it was slightly warped, I don't know. And here is the last one. At the time, she was actually the most difficult one to find because everybody wanted Marion, and of course at the time they were saying, you know, female figures don't sell, so there were less of those than some of the others. So, so it's actually nice to see that they've redone it exactly the same way with her lace dress, and we're going to see what she's like. So here we go. See, of course I have a feeling she'll have problems standing, but anyway, so here is Marion, and she looks really nice. I mean, she did look nice at the time as well. I think the dress is about as thick as the one she had at the time. Let's see first if she can stand. Yeah, she seems to be having the same kind of issues as Marion had in the 80s. I think the dress probably doesn't help. Yeah, with the between the dress and the tiny feet, because I mean, if you look underneath, you will see that she's got really tiny little feet, and of course they gave her some heels. Interestingly enough, of course, she doesn't have the same level of articulation. She only has 5 points of articulation. She's got the legs and the arms and the head, of course. And she does come with the little monkey, because of course she needs the monkey. She can't really carry it. But here you go. That's the, and I'm going to try and have her stand again one last time. Let's see if she wants to. I'm sure there is a way to have her stand, probably by using the dress as a stand. Yay, it works. So basically, if you use the dress, you can actually use it as a stand. So here we go. That's 5 figures: Indiana Jones and Marion and Belloc, the German mechanic, and Toth, and they're all from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they've actually already announced that there will be more of those, so it's going to be interesting what they're going to be releasing. I would be hoping for playset, but I find it's very doubtful that they would release playset, but it would be great. Anyway, so those are out right now. They are sold weirdly because Indiana Jones is what they call a solid assortment, so it's sold on its own, and all 4 figures, the other 4 figures, are sold together or separately, of course. But if you buy an assortment, which is those little boxes, it does say that it is 4 pieces, and this doesn't include Indiana Jones. It's just the other 4 figures. So, but anyway, those are really good fun, and I hope you can find them easily. As I said, they're just out in the UK, in the US, in France probably as well, and in other countries. So have fun, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.